Hello again, all. Dr. JC back in the house. Week 2 here. We're going to take this lecture in 3 parts, focusing broadly on the East Asian world. And in each of these 3 parts, we're going to look at China, the Ming and the Qing, Japan in this Tokugawa period, and work our way towards Meiji Japan, which we'll talk about later in the course, and Korea. The importance of Korea geographically and otherwise, and perhaps geography won't be its greatest asset either, because it's going to be sandwiched between Japan and China, both of which looking to expand their borders, largely at the expense of the Koreans. So we'll talk about the Joseon dynasty of Korea in part 3. So let's start here in part 1 with the Ming and then get into the Qing in China. The Ming Dynasty is going to be the ruling family that takes over after Kublai Khan's demise, after the demise of the Yuan Dynasty. So the Ming will follow the Yuan Dynasty and serve as a bridge itself into the Qing. And while I'm not going to go into great detail about any one of these dynasties, this is something that you could look at more specifically yourself, and I would invite you to research these important and impactful dynasties. I would be remiss if I didn't at least mention, as it relates to the Ming, not just the founder depicted here, but the fact that the Ming dynasty is the last imperial dynasty that was ruled by the ethnic Han. You say, okay, big deal, what about the Han? Well, the Han are a big deal because they happen to still be today the largest ethnic group on the planet, period. And Zhu Yuanzhang will play on this Han ethnic likeness, this Chinese likeness, to replace the Mongolian dynasty of the Yuan. Therefore, Zhu Yuanzhang will bring the ethnic Han together and be the founder and creator of this Ming dynasty. And Zhu Yuanzhang himself is a really interesting cat. He is. This is a guy in about a dozen years goes from being pretty much flat broke, he's a monk, to a Chinese warlord, to frickin' emperor, creating a whole new dynasty that's going to last, what, darn near 300 years. So for those of you out there still eating ramen noodles, understand there's hope, okay? All joking aside, Zhu Yuanzhang was really impactful. He really did set the trajectory of the Ming. And it is, remember, the Ming Dynasty, by the way, as being one of the most socially stable in Chinese history. That's saying something. Holy crap, right? And one of the reasons for this social stability throughout the Ming Dynasty happens to come from reform, especially Zhu Yuanzhang's focus on agricultural reform. It's estimated that by the end of the Ming Dynasty, the Chinese population will grow by 50%. That's saying something to arguably the world's largest population at the time to begin with. Now you can say, well, there are some challenges and opportunities that comes with that type of population growth. Opportunities, of course, being what? We can expand our military, we can expand our industrial base, our worker base, whatever it might be. That's all great for growth of the state. However, at the same token, you got 50% more people now that you need to keep happy. And if you don't keep them happy, there are millions that are going to be pissed. Therefore, rebellion could be an issue. We'll talk about that in weeks ahead. Before moving on to a brief discussion about the Qing, I wanted to introduce 2 other individuals associated with the Ming Dynasty. The first one, depicted here, is Emperor Yongle. I've chosen to highlight Emperor Yongle here because he comes to represent, I think at least to me, the spirit of the Ming, which is this idea of discovery and exploration and engineering and pushing the limits of things. And we can see that represented in the engineering projects and games of the day. Not only do they focus on more practical engineering, like the Grand Canal itself, reopening of the Grand Canal, especially if you're going to do agricultural reform, right? If we're going to move goods, let's move them. And at the same time, we're going to move them internally. Let's look to move them externally. Let's commission voyages of discovery and exploration. We'll see that under Zheng He next. But they also focus on engineering projects that show the might and power and technique and strength of the people. And perhaps there's no better representation of that than the porcelain tower. As it relates to the tower, I'd ask that you guys go ahead and research that. It's really cool, and it has some pretty recent history as well. Fascinating. Yet beyond the pride and power that might be reflected in the porcelain tower for the ethnic Han, for the Ming, We also see the advancement of sport and game. As depicted on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen here, you see Emperor Yungla observing Kyuja practice. You say, all right, what the blue blazes is Kyuja? Well, Kyuja was this game that required individuals, and you can use your hands, only to use your feet, and the goal was to kick a ball through an opening into a net. Sound familiar? You bet your boots it does. Or perhaps in this case, cleats. Because FIFA, the world organizing body for soccer, or world's football, we won't get into this American football. We call it football, we use our arms. What the hell is that, right? No, the world's football, where you actually use your foot to kick a ball. FIFA recognizes Kyuja as being the earliest form of sport. We can tie that back to the Ming. Pretty cool. Yet if we peel back a layer of sport here, it does reveal in some ways why historians refer to this as being a socially stable period. If people have time to go out and play sport, they have time to go play sport. That would imply what? Maybe you're not having to toil in the fields 24/7. That maybe you can focus on me, myself, and I, or move a little beyond that and embrace the family too, right? Or move beyond that and embrace all of your neighbors in society. So the sheer fact that individuals could engage in sport and play sport does give us some indication that perhaps the economy and society really was humming along pretty well, and that does equal stability. And having a stable society and a vibrant economy, that can help a government focus on research and development. Research and development perhaps of, say, a navy? Enter Zheng He, known to the West as Zheng He. Like Zhu Yuanzhang, Zheng He here has a really interesting story. I'd ask you guys to check it out too. Here's a cat that's born with Mongolian blood and's Muslim, that's going to eventually rise to the highest ranks within the Chinese imperial hierarchy. He's going to have the inner ear of emperors, and they're going to allow him to go ahead and create this great fleet. And Zheng He will go on to be this master of the oceans, this master mariner and explorer. And while I don't always like to include extra videos, I am going to include one extra little video clip here that I ask that you guys watch. It's about 5 minutes, and it focuses specifically on Zheng He. It does. So do check that out as well. As the old saw goes, all good things must come to an end. Well, the same is true for the Ming. And because their decline is so complex, I'd ask that you go ahead and research that on your own. Rather, I'd like to transition from the Ming to those that come behind them, the Qing. Now, you may notice that there's some spillover in the years of rule here, that the Ming ended in 1644, but yet this slide says the Qing started in 1636. That's representative of this sort of complex nature of the shift from the Ming to the Qing. For all intents and purposes, however, the Qing dynasty really won't take control of all of China until 1644. Hence the reason they being historians, refer to the end of the Ming as 1644. Beginning dates aside, I'd like to focus your attention for a minute on the end date here, 1912. Not only will the Qing be the last imperial dynasty of China, they will end right around the World War I era, the same as the Ottomans, and therefore serve as this bridge from the early modern to the modern world. And while we'll talk more about the Qing in weeks ahead, especially as it relates to the rise of the Meiji in Japan, and we get into the latter part of the course here and start to talk about the rise of the People's Republic of China, I will at least introduce one individual here, and that is Kangxi. Well, it's easy to select Kangxi as the individual to focus on as it relates to the Qing here, simply because he is the longest reigning ruler of any emperor in Chinese history. 60 freaking years, a long time. I also select him simply because there are some commonalities he has with Zhu Yuanzhang. Here's a guy that's naturally inquisitive, he's open to new ideas, he's open to new techniques and technologies, hell, he's even open to new spiritualities, he is. He's willing to listen to what other people have to say, and even try it. But yet at the same time, as sort of progressive as that might seem, and technically is, he happens to be very conservative as well. Conservative in the sense that we are going to have order, and it's going to come from strict military discipline and control. We are going to focus on expanding our borders. We are going to gain more ground, and we are going to show the rest of the world we can kick your ass if we want to. And thus, in the eyes of the average everyday Chinese person, Kang Chi is this warrior philosopher, maybe the dude they've been looking for. They've wanted to go back to the peace and stability and economic growth of the Ming when it was at its height. And under Kang Chi, they will find that. Kang Chi's domestic policies and programs are bent towards helping the average everyday Chinese person. At the same time, he's out pushing the borders, showing the greatness and power of China. He also represents well the average Chinese person. This is a guy that's known to get up early, stay late, and get at it all day long. This guy's a workaholic, and therefore becomes the very model of what he wants Qing China to be and Qing Chinese to become. Rather than continue on with Kang Chi or the Qing more generally, we will be talking more about the Qing in weeks ahead, to be sure. I think this is a good point for us to pause on China and look at their other two neighbors, Japan and Korea. So let's go in part 2 of lecture 2 to Japan next. Dr. JC out from China, week 2, part 1. See you next in Japan.